I'd like to call the May Policy and Academics Committee meeting to order. B, roll call.
Ms. Bourgeois.
Here.
Dr. Guillet is not here, and Ms. Wells.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Item number 2, academics, new business. A, to consider merging Golden Meadow Lower and Golden Meadow Upper and changing the school name to Golden Meadow Elementary School. Mr. Martin.
Yes, Madam President, as you're aware, we have combined the two schools into one building since Hurricane Ida, and we are now going to officially create one new elementary school on the Lowers campus. And so the recommended action is to approve merging Golden Meadow Lower and Golden Meadow Upper and changing the school name to Golden Meadow Elementary School, and it will be a pre-K through 5 school.
Can I just say so moved, or do I? So moved. Seconded by Ms. Wells. Is there any public comment? Any board comment?
I guess if people weren't happy about this, they would have contacted us. I didn't have anybody contact me, so I was kind of hoping that I would know which way to go, but guess it's a good thing. Yeah.
And to your point, I mean, we've been functioning in this environment for a long time. In fact, the school, you can consider combining, and I'm saying this, I know I'm going to make people nervous. I'm not intending to do that. Even combining the two schools, the school is still on a smaller side. So not combining them would just be, frankly, a waste of resources, because running the two cafeterias and the two buildings costs the district a lot. Combining it makes a lot of fiscal sense, and you can run a skateboard from one school to the other. So it's not like we're moving out of a community.
Seems like the natural order of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other board comment? If none, we can vote. And motion carries. Item B, excuse me, to receive the Virtual Academy of Lafourche annual report, Mr. Edmund Adams.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'll be quick unless you guys and gals have any questions. Virtual Academy of Lafourche, as you know, it's one of the charter schools here in Lafourche Parish. We finished the school year with 488 students enrolled. We just completed graduation last Friday with 64 graduates. So that was our largest graduation class to date in our 13-year history for our VAL. When we look at VAL, 98% of our students are considered at risk, right? At risk how? 504, 1508, low socioeconomic. So that is the attraction, or as far as that is the population of students that we bring in to service that VAL to assist Lafourche Parish in providing that proper education to our students. With that in mind, right, we have maintained that B status for a second straight year with the expectation that we will again be a B school as we go into next school year. You say, well, what encompasses why we're a B school? Our K-12 report card from the LDOE states this. One is we have a C in assessments. That's our LEAP test, right? We have an A in progress rating, C for ACT, an A graduation rate, and an A strength of diploma. What we do well with our at-risk kids is that we bring them in and we work with them in small groups. We put them in environments where they feel very comfortable with. So we make a great deal of progress with those students from where we get them. We're proud of our efforts to service the students of Lafourche Parish and look forward in continuing to do so in the future. Any questions?
Seems like you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you very much. And one last note, thank you, Mr. Martin, and your team and the board for supporting VAL through this. So we have to work together as we continue as one community in Dallas.
I would like to also mention, Mr. Master.
I just want to say I attended the graduation, beautiful ceremony, and those 64 and any other students that were there to see that, I just love the feeling.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. You know, of those 64, we have 3 students who are going to college. That does not mean the other 61 will not be successful in life and in whichever path they take. They are now high school graduates in Lafourche Parish.
And Mr. Adams and I are also working on facilities for his schools. The BCA, as you know, Dr. Becknell is about to get up. They're going to be moving out of a building that we want to rehabilitate and get ready for Val North to move potentially into that building soon, and giving him another facility for his Central Lafourche area behind Central, and the old Therapeutic Intervention Program building will be Val Central, and then we're moving that program to combine with the students at college. So you'll have stable facilities for
Absolutely.
some
Yes.
years to come if we make this happen.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Adams. Item C, to receive the Bayou Community Academy Annual Report. Melanie Becknell.
Good afternoon. I prepared folders for you if you'd like to take one. It has my report. I didn't know if everyone had a copy of that. And then I had just another quick flyer that gives a snapshot of BCA and where we've been. We have always had 3 goals in mind for Bayou Community Academy, and that has been to maintain an 8 school report card average, and we have had that since 2013. Our goal also was to always increase our student population of disabilities, and we have done that. Our goal was at a 5.9%, and this year we finally hit at 6%. So we have finally met that goal and very proud of that goal, and I want to take a moment and thank everyone at People Appraisal for helping us through that process. And then our third goal is enrolling economically disadvantaged students. We are currently continuing to work on those goals. Mr. Martin and I constantly have conversations about what can we do to make it better. We are having those open enrollment meetings within our community. We are going out to them, rather asking them to come to us to enroll, but it has been a shortfall. It has always been. Right now, currently, we're at 37% at the end of this school year. I have 34 because we use our February 1st numbers, but we did have some fluctuations. And we're looking to increase a little bit, almost closer to 38, 39 for next school year. But we do know it is something that we need to continue. But just a little bit about BCA, as Mr. Martin mentioned, that we will be moving into our new school. So thank you all for allowing us to rent and house us for the past 14 years. It's been an amazing experience. We are excited to be opening our doors in August at the new campus.
I was wondering when the doors would open. It's going to be for the new school year.
Yes, ma'am. We will get the keys July 21st. I'm scared to say that on line, but
That's always a moving target.
it's going to happen whether we want it to or not. It has not. No, we will be there for the teachers on August 1st.
Any board questions? Thank you so much,
Thank you
Dr.
for having
Becknell.
me.
Item D, to receive a presentation regarding the first grade retention proposal. Ms. Casey Sheremy, Mr. Jordan Dufresne, and Ms. Amy Engel. And I'm sure Ms. Hodson will chime in.
I'll just kind of give just some background. We've been working on first grade retention actually for a couple of years. It's been sort of on all of our minds. And so this is a collective effort between all of our principals. They had to gather data in order to make this proposal to you. So I wanted you to hear from them, the people in the trenches who are living this every day. And this proposal is really about the students, about providing opportunities for them to become proficient readers. This is all about those 6-year-old kids because reading has such an impact on their lives. And so think about that. This is all about their future.
And Madam Chairman, if I may, I also want to point out the reason why this report's coming to you tonight is because pupil progression as a committee and board will not get approved until much, much later in the summer. What they're going to talk to you about tonight is to make the board aware of a potential major change in what is our retention policy for first graders. And so we wanted you to know that so we can begin alerting the community about this potential change as well. It doesn't impact a lot of folks, but the folks that it will impact them greatly. So that's why this report is happening tonight, and I will yield to our presenters.
Again, I'm Amy Engel, principal from Lockport Lower. And so a couple of key highlights that we wanted to share with you tonight. Just a couple of research and statistics, the current pupil progression plan, our first grade proposed retention policy, and some supporting data that we have from our current year and a couple years past. So research shows that third graders who lack proficiency in reading are 4 times more likely to become high school dropouts. So I know that chart is hard to see, but it shows a relationship between third grade reading level and high school graduation. So it shows that students at and above grade level for reading in grade 3 graduate at higher rates than students that are below grade level. And while we know we have a third grade retention policy or law, we know that early intervention is way more important. So the majority of young children entering kindergarten and elementary school are at risk for reading failure that have the potential to learn to read at average or above average levels. The consequences of delaying identifying these students and delaying interventions that are needed early are ominous, because at least 70% of students who do not learn to read by age 9 will never catch up to their peers. So we need to have effective intervention, because if we wait for the later of third grade or beyond, they do not catch up in terms of reading fluency. They can improve over time with that intensive intervention, but they still will fall behind their peers. And researchers, Ozek and Mariano, they're researchers for the Fordham Institute, and they wrote that while some research does show retention is good, only if it's done the right way. And so we have a big initiative working with going forward with the structure of literacy, or structured literacy. That's something we've been developing, looking at with the science of reading. So we know that third grade retention is law, but we want to do something sooner. We need to do something before that. So the question is, if third grade promotion gates are beneficial, then why wouldn't the same be true for K-2? Reading scientists have recognized for a long time that students who fall behind in kindergarten or first grade are also likely to never catch up unless they receive, before third grade, the kind of intensive intervention that is needed.
Hey y'all, Jordan Dufresne, principal at Thibodeau Elementary School. I'm going to take us through our current pupil progression plan for first grade, and then our proposed progression plan, if the proposal. So currently, a first grader has to pass. If they fail reading and if they fail math, they're retained. So that's 2 major subjects. So you have to pass 2 major subjects, which in first grade, if you make a D, was that? Exactly, that's right. So in first grade, there are only 2 major subjects, reading and math. So, for example, if a first grade student finishes the year with a D in math and an F in reading, they're going to pass. So, to put that into perspective a little bit further, a student could in first grade, the first and second 9 weeks make F, F, third 9 weeks, fourth 9 weeks make D, D. And then we are sending them to second grade. So we're really sending kids that are not quite prepared, because our pupil progression plan says that if they pass math, they pass on. So based on the research that Amy just went over, those students are not ready to yet go to second grade. Those are the kids that are not going to catch up by third grade. So we need to do something a little bit sooner. So what we're proposing is, if a student continues, can you go one more for me? Thank you. If a student fails reading and math, they're still going to be retained. However, in addition to that, if a student scores on the lowest proficiency level on DIBELS, well below, we're saying that they're going to be considered for first grade retention, unless they meet the following good cause exemptions, which we took from the state as guidance. So if a student has well below in DIBELS, but they have a C or better in ELA, if they're a limited English proficient student who has been enrolled in a program for less than 2 years, if a student has dyslexia, or if a student has a 504 or a 1508, and they've had intensive reading instruction for 2 years, we're going to consider them for promotion. That's our proposal. So now Casey's going to go into some data to support this.
Hey, good evening, guys. Casey Sheremy, principal at Raceland Lower. So tonight we're going to look at some current data right now in Lafourche. So these are our second graders that were promoted, but they did fail reading in first grade. So of these students, 79% of these students either regressed or remained at the same attainment level on Dibble's end of the year. And we had 21% of these students that improved. What this is showing us is these students didn't acquire the necessary skills that they need in order to be promoted to second grade. But being they have to fail both subjects, they were promoted. You could go to the next one. So now let's talk about our current third graders. These are third grade students that either repeated second grade or repeated third grade after earning a D in reading when they were in first grade. So we have 62% of these students scored proficient on their end of year Dibbles, which is okay. But, you know, the question is had these students had the opportunity to repeat first grade, had they acquired the skills needed to be proficient readers much sooner? What we all have to remember is that in first grade, they're laying that solid foundation. They're learning that basic code. Once they get to second grade, that code is so much more complex for reading. So we really want to be sure that we're giving our students that adequate opportunity to become proficient readers early on. These are our current first grade repeaters. We have 69% of our students that improved on their end of year Dibbles, and we have 77% of our students that improved one letter grade by the end of the year, which shows that they are making progress. What we have to remember is some of our little learners, they do need an extra opportunity to acquire that solid foundation. And we just want to be sure that we're giving all students that adequate opportunity to become proficient readers. And right here, just so that we can look at some real numbers, for this school year, we have 4.6% of our first graders are repeating. So just so that you know, we have about 1,000 first graders in Lafourche, so that's about 46 are going to be repeating first grade. In the event that the proposal is passed later on, it would be looking at more like 64%, which would be 64 students. So we would be talking about an additional 18 students. So not that we feel that retention is the answer for all students, but we just want to be sure that we're giving our students a solid foundation when they need it in first grade so that later on they don't have to repeat and they can become lifelong learners. Any questions?
She said 64%, 6.4.
Oh,
We're talking 20 students
Jordan got it.
difference.
Thank you, Jordan. Yeah, slight mistake.
And I think what they left out here too is what we plan to do with the students when they're retained. Jordan, start, Casey, can
Sure.
one of you speak to
Absolutely.
that?
So
it's not going to be the same thing over again.
So the question is, what do we do differently for these students who are repeating? So each principal will have to submit a proposal on what we're going to do for those students. How are we going to target for those students to make sure their instruction is different, to make sure that their instruction is better? How are we going to progress monitor as we go? So that way we know that we're making progress with these students. Was it worth them repeating first grade? So what this could look like is in first grade, our repeaters may get a double dose of a skills lesson every single day. Since they already went through the knowledge strand of our CKLA, skills is really where they learn the code, they learn the foundation of reading. So we might give those students a double dose of that, so that way they're able to master it just, throughout the year. So that's just an example.
This makes my principal heart just so happy. Just because I learned a long time ago, just because you have 5 candles on your cake, that does not mean you're ready for first grade, even kindergarten. So I wholeheartedly support this because if, like you said, Ms. Chairman, we are building their foundation. If you build a house and your cement is not solid, the house will fall. And it's a slippery slope. If we don't turn our K-2 students over to third graders as proficient, it's a slippery slope. They're never catching up. So this is great. I love this.
One thing, Madam President, that I think was implied but not explicitly mentioned, and I want to say emphatically, if a student does have to repeat the first grade, even if at the end of third grade they still stumble on that end of year screener, they don't repeat again. This would not cause a kid to have to repeat first grade and then again third grade. The state has allowed our pupil progression plan to place a retention policy that preemptively does the intervention program that the third grade plan was supposed to do for first graders, which in my humble opinion is a more appropriate age to retain a child.
You learn the most in first grade, skill-wise. So it's amazing how they start and how they finish. So, I could go on forever, but this is a good thing.
And the students who are now, they're going on, they're being retained anyway. If you're leaving first grade with a D, the chances are of you being retained in second and third are very high. I mean, so it's going to catch them. So all we want to do is place the retention where it needs to be in the first. That gives the child the best position to be successful when you fill those gaps so early. Because when you get a third grader with gaps, it's virtually impossible. It really is. So we're not increasing the numbers by very many students. We're just trying to provide better opportunities for these kids to be successful.
Well, we're not about retaining them. We're about making them better. Yes, ma'am.
So it's a large jump from first to second. So if you're sending a kid on that's not ready, they're really, really struggling. But it's an even much bigger jump to third. So they're that much further behind. Speaking from experience, a lot of these point whatevers are going to end up being your 504 and your SPED kids because we're not giving them a chance to get as you said, the right foundation down. Third grade is way too late to hold them back.
First grade is the grade to repeat. Yes.
So I completely agree and support you guys. I think this is wonderful. As a high school teacher, it kills me to see students that are in 11th grade that are struggling to read still. And so they miss that foundation, just like you said, it would benefit, a child in the beginning. This is something we have to do. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that. Item number 3, academics. Supervisory staff updates. A, federal programs. Ms. Jimmy Akawad.
Good evening. So the federal programs report that displayed up there. I just wanted to highlight the summer activities taking place via federal programs. So the Ready Start Network, that first paragraph, we are hosting literacy nights for early childhood. So children ages 3 and 4, we're hosting 6 literacy nights this summer. So 2 in the north part of the district, 2 in the central area, 2 in the south area. So that's taking place, and families can go on our Facebook page and get all the details and register. McKinney-Vento, we are hosting a summer enrichment camp. That's June 16th through the 20th. That will be at Central Lafourche High School, as well as our annual resource fair that we hold for families. That will be at Lockport Middle School this year on July 16th. Indian Education, we are hosting 2 cultural camps, one for the little kids at Lockport Middle School and one for the big kids at Bayou Sinet, as well as our annual summer distribution that happens at the Media Center. We give literacy bridge books, as well as some family engagement kits. So that's taking place for federal programs.
I have to say that the Indian education program for the graduates was so nice and meaningful to them. It was great.
I'll share them with them.
B, technology, Ms. Lacey McKinney.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few updates on what we've been working on lately. On course, we finished year one of the rollout, so huge thanks to Christy and Katie because they were instrumental in the transition to on course. Was it perfect? No, but for a two-man team, I think they did a pretty good job on rolling that entire system out. And with transferring and cleaning up the data as well as supporting the schools. And Katie will be sharing some of our insights with other districts at the Q conference coming up in June, which most of our staff will be attending. We've also been going through an audit on 2023 funding year for our E-rate. So that's an educator rate that we get for things like wires to run our network. And we get a huge discount from the government using that program. So we're going through that audit, and Josh and Jennifer and Shasta have been very instrumental in helping do that. We've been going through it since March. We've been meeting with our consultant for E-rate and submitting documents that they ask for more clarification on. And then they'll be doing some walkthroughs. Like within the audit, they randomly pick which schools we're going to visit, and we ask them to do it during the summer while the schools were closed and no kids were on campus. That way they're going to be checking to see that the equipment we put into place is where it is, where we say it is. And then Bayou STEM, the high schools had esports programs already, but Bayou STEM is providing some equipment to add to the high schools program, and then we're able to start the program in the middle schools next year due to the equipment provided by Bayou STEM. And Katie also developed a tournament website so the middle schools can compete against each other next year in our little tournament.
Let's go down to the village. Any questions or comments? Well, is there any other business to be brought before the committee? Just want to say happy birthday to Ms. Fontaine. If not, this meeting is adjourned.